progress that you have made in Macedonia when you were in government, and we have always supported your efforts. The situation has changed. Will you please?
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Congratulations on the organization. Let me go through my notes first, and then I'll say a couple of words for North Macedonia. For a longer period of time, democracies in Europe, but also in other parts of the world, failed to foresee the upcoming authoritarian wave and thus failed to undertake concrete policies to prevent a crisis at a such scale that we have today. The crisis of democracy began with the crisis of social democracy and, in general, of the progressive forces, which is clear indication that the social democracy, in its essence, is the only true opposite to the anti-democratic and authoritarian ideologies and regimes. I'm stressing this because some of us still think that the resistance to authoritarianism among our colleagues from the center-right parties is as strong as among us progressives. Unfortunately, history teaches us that some of them, those political forces, may take the path of appeasement of the authoritarian political forces in a hope that they can put them under control by preventing their own voters to switch sides. That belief isn't only wrong, but also very dangerous because it legitimizes the far right and gives them opportunity to present them as a rational and moderate force for wider circle of voters. To conclude in this part, the heavy task of prevailing over this newest wave of authoritarian political forces is primarily on progressives and social democrats. The most important for the progressives is to undergo a process of fundamental transformation, both of narratives and policies, as well as of the approach to the voters in order to be electable again in the new political circumstances. As long as we think that nothing can change since the self-proclaimed end of history during the 90s of the last century, we will live in the illusion that there isn't alternative for us. The elections in the last years showed that more and more voters, especially from the working classes, are choosing the far right. They aren't doing that because they are essentially radical or fascist, but because they feel betrayed and abandoned by us, who are supposed to stand for them and their rights. For that purpose, we need to change the strategy. Instead of lecturing them about democracy, we have to prioritize the social and economic issues, connect them to their living standard and working conditions, and only then introduce the argument of democracy by building a narrative that only a democracy the workers can achieve a welfare society. Additionally, we need to position ourselves clearly against the new wave of unregulated capitalism masked as patriotism. The newest wave replaced the neoliberal policies with far more dangerous form of techno-feudalism. It is our failure that we are witnessing a situation where techno-feudalists are using the fears of the workers because of the globalization and migration, managed to gain their support and to utilize it for their own goals that they are completely opposite to the interests of the workers. I would like to also mention that progressives must not fall into trap of letting bilateral issues, and this is in relation of enlargement of the European Union, that don't have direct connection to the Copenhagen criteria to be used as an excuse for vetoes and blockades. Every new veto or blockade is heavily damaging not only the process, but is undermining the trust of our citizens in the values of the EU. While Copenhagen criteria, including strict application of the rule of law and the good neighboring relations, shall be respected, that isn't green card for unreasonable blockades. Let's show in these decisive moments of the process who is on the right side of the history. Let me finish by saying a couple of words about the situation of North Macedonia. You have rightly said that the things have changed after what Social Democratic government from the 2017 until 24 has done into the progress towards first NATO, which is a Finnish process, and then to the EU. We now have a right-wing government, which is completely against the integration of the country to the European Union. They're not proceeding with what is necessary to be done, and this is constitutional changes to implement Bulgarian minority, Croatian minority, other minorities in the preamble of the constitution by saying that this is going to harm our national identity. The reality is that this is only an excuse because they want to proceed in their coalition with the Serbian President Vučić and until recently the Prime Minister of Hungary, Mr. Orban, who was completely controlling this axis from Budapest to Belgrade and to Skopje, politically, financially, by needs and by media. We have get 1 billion euro of loan of Chinese money for the purposes that can be used in the same time from EU grants. Then the 40% of the media in the country is controlled by, not by Hungarian companies, by Hungarian companies which are run by friends of Mr. Orban. Can you imagine the anti-European rhetoric? Can you imagine the black campaign? Can you imagine the fake news, the level of fake news which is spread around the country? This network of the media is also very dangerously used to increase inter-ethnic tensions. We have close to 30% Albanian majority. And this is not a joke. In a time when serious progress is made by Montenegro, by Albania, with which we are seeing that the Europe has changed strategy. It was Denmark ambassador who came to present last year the priorities of the European Union, and she said openly, listen, we were against enlargement. Now with the new situation in the geopolitics, we are for. You have to use this momentum. So unfortunately, just to conclude, not to take much of the time, we are fighting autocracies, not in general in the world, but we are fighting locally. We cannot even approach the system of European Union, which is going to help us to gain more power and more instruments to fight authoritarian regime in the country. So we are back in the time of former regime of Mr. Gruevski, who is now fugitive, and Mr. Orban was keeping him until now. Now Mr. Magyar is saying, no, we're not going to keep him anymore, but our government is not asking formally for him to come back and to serve his sentences in the prison. So just to conclude, I think only together we're stronger, and this is why I think this type of meetings means a lot and can mean that we can share knowledge, experience on how to fight our mutual challenges in the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Venko, for bringing us into